Good evening and welcome to the Checkpoint. This is U24 Television, the National Youth Development. My name is John Vianney Ayeware. I'm the host for tonight's show. And tonight we are discussing matters of the Constitution. 30 years of the 1995 Ugandan Constitution. Has it delivered on its premises? The promise that we had in 1995 as we made our new constitution then, today it is 30 years old. Definitely tomorrow, 8th of October 2025, it will be 30 years old. Therefore, we interrogate whether the constitution has delivered on its promises. This evening, I have an able panel with me. And on the far left, I have Douglas Omara. He's a legal assistant from Omara Atubo and the Company Advocates. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am happy to be here again.
Thank you very much. I think this is your second appearance on the Checkpoint. You're welcome. Then I have Elvis Pasajabaka. He's a lawyer and he really specializes in interpreting the Constitution and analyzing the same. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Much obliged, sir, for the invite.
You're welcome. I think this is your third time on appearing on the Checkpoint. Thank you very much, Elvis, for appearing. On the 8th of October in 1995, the country was excited to receive a new piece of Constitution, the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. It has been praised across the world as one of the best constitutions, but tonight we find out whether the excitement that engulfed the country 30 years ago still bears valid promises. Has the Constitution delivered on its promises? And I want to start with you, Elvis. Has the Constitution delivered on its premises? But before we go to the promise, what is the historical context? How do we get to the 1995 Constitution?
How we get to the 1995 Constitution, we look at the aspect of us getting our independence in 1962, and then we look at the various constitutions that have been around before we come into the 1995 Constitution. We look at the Pigeonhole Constitution. We look at the Constitution that was in the period of Idi Amin Dada. All those are the previous constitutions before coming into the what? The 1995 Constitution. Now, on the promise that was currently in the 1995 Constitution, we look at the aspect of it not being fulfilled. That's according to my perspective of the current Constitution. The promise hasn't been met, and we shall see as we go on during the show on this.
Thank you very much. So, Douglas.
Yes, please.
Elvis gives us a rough idea of where we come from. He mentions of the Pigeonhole Constitution. How do we relate our history to the 1995 Constitution?
Well, I would like to refer you to the preamble, first of all, of the 1995 Constitution. It recognizes and acknowledges the fact that this country has been through a lot, given its history. Military coups, extrajudicial killings, and a lot of other illegal things. So these events transpired from way back. The Obote regime, the Idi Amin regime. We are still seeing some of these events coming up in this day and age under the NRM government. So, relating our history to the 1995 Constitution, I would first of all want to paint a picture of what our country was like before the 1995 Constitution.
We are interested in that.
Yes. Mr. President, I would say our country was a constitutional graveyard. Like my colleague has put it, we had 4 constitutions buried during a period of 33 years. 4 constitutions done away with. The 1962 Independence Constitution, which basically lasted 4 years until Obote replaced it with the 66 Constitution, which was basically the pigeonhole Constitution. That one was also replaced by the other constitution that.
Why is it called the pigeonhole Constitution?
Well, to understand the whole pigeonhole concept, you need to understand where the word pigeonhole comes from. A pigeonhole is basically a small compartment. So, in creating this constitution, it was compartmentalized. Specific provisions were focused on. I would be right to say this constitution was a sham.
Absolutely.
It was non-existent. On paper it was there, but it was non-existent. In simple terms, that is how I would define a pigeonhole. But to take you back to our history, yes, the pigeonhole constitution is put in place. That one is done away with. The other one comes, abolishes political kingdoms, and so on and so on and so forth. Idi Amin comes in, he doesn't even bother to come up with a constitution. He rules by decree. I see. 86 NRM government takes over. They issue a legal notice, which is referred to as a legal notice number 1, which was challenged at some point. So the 1995 constitution, well, the makers of it had a purpose. They wanted to address so many issues that were characterized by our history, if you do some reading. So, in trying to address some of these issues that we faced in the past, so many promises were made before the constitution was promulgated. Among those promises was the sovereignty of the people. Article 1. Power belongs to the people. And they'll exercise this power through free will. No coercion whatsoever, no coercion whatsoever. The second promise that was made to the people of Uganda before the drafting of this constitution was the sovereignty, the sovereignty of the constitution itself. No law is going to operate in Uganda if it is inconsistent with the constitution. In legal terms, we refer to it as null and void. So these are some of the promises that were made. Shortly, I'll explain why we've failed here and there and how we've been successful. But if I was trying to relate the history of Uganda to the 95 constitution, I would say it was formulated to mostly deal with some of these difficult times that we encountered from 62 onwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Douglas. You've given us a worth set off. So Elvis, I would want you to pick it from there.
Yes.
Those promises he has highlighted. Is it true they were made?
In accordance to the constitution, we see that they aren't fully met. We look at extents. There is a large extent and a small extent. Now, looking at Article 1, as my brothers just cited, that power belongs to the people. So we look at the aspect that right now we are going during the times for voting, elections. So since we are going to the times of election, you see that the aspect that people have to be registered voters, they have to meet requirements. So it creates a limit that the power of people, like the people putting the certain people in positions who vote, they have to meet certain requirements for them to be eligible. So it's like there are rules that have to be met for those people to have a certain power to enforce what is in the what is in the constitution, other than you just being a normal person and then just exercising your right because you're what? You're a person. Yet there are rules. You get. So when you try to analyze this constitution, it is debatable on the aspect of meeting certain promises, whereby some are met. Now look at the example of Article 3 of the Constitution, defending the Constitution, which states that no person shall have power to retain or change the Constitution, whereby in close to that person will be liable for treason. You get? Except within the provisions of the same Constitution. That's when someone can do what? Can retain that Constitution. In other words, fail, like not defending the Constitution. So when you look at what the current executive entails, that the power that the executive has currently, it is so up there. And they go through the exceptions of the what? That are laid in the Constitution to retain that power that the Constitution gives through the exceptions of the Constitution, whereby those same exceptions of the Constitution, if they are to be complied with in the strict sense, at least we shall see the Constitution of Uganda coming to life.
Thank you very much. We've been joined by His Excellency Mutesasere Expedito. He's the Guild President of the Law Development Center, Kampala campus. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Say hello to our viewers.
Thank you. Hello to our viewers. Just like I've been introduced, that's my name. Yes, I've come from Barara, and you know the jam here in Kampala, so I'm really sorry for that. But
Okay.
I'll pick up from.
You're welcome. In fact, pick it from there. When you look at the 1995 Constitution, in your opinion, what promises were made therein?
Okay. What promises were made in the Constitution? Personally, I would really look at the Constitution. Of course, the promises are so many, but the question would be, can we discuss them today in their entirety? Impossible.
It's impossible.
How it stands today? Of course, there are so many. Just to highlight a few, we had promises to do with the human rights. We had promises to do with other, how is it called? Disseminating power to the ground, local government. We had promises to do with, of course, change of government. They had set really strict lines, in the sense that after 5 years, you have to go back to the polls and you elect a new leader. After election of this leader 2 times, you had to do away with that leader, and then you come up with a new person, a new face. I think it had, just like so many constitutional lawyers and so many jurists have said, it was the model constitution, the hybrid constitution of Uganda. I don't know if it is still the same. That is a question to debate, but it was. And I think applying the strict sense, just like my brother said, we may say since 1995 to date, we've had more than 3 constitutions. Much as we still refer to it as the 1995 constitution, but it is not the 1995 constitution as it was. That's why we always keep referring to it as amended. You must cite it, the 1995 constitution of Uganda, as amended. So we are not having the hybrid constitution as it was. We are having something else.
People have argued that a constitution is a living document,
yes,
and therefore amending it should be very fine. In fact, the same constitution provides for its amendment. So would you be justified to say there are 3 different constitutions?
You see, just like sometimes I like arguing or debating, bringing points closer to us. Just like you yourself, you're putting on your suit. I believe it's not the same that you put on tomorrow. because of circumstances. So the question would be, what was the intention of the framers of the Constitution to put in place certain articles, certain provisions, and what was the intention of those that amended the same to remove those provisions or to change those provisions? I think that is one thing that can guide us to whether it is a living document or not. Just because it is a living document, it doesn't mean that we have to keep on day by day changing it or touching it, just like, you know, it was referred to. Yes, it is a living document, but we know we should have measures. There are procedures to changing it, and personally, I would believe that we don't have to change it each and every other day. We need to give ourselves, you know, reason to change. You don't just wake up one day and you be like, you know what, since I want to do this, the Constitution should be changed. And these are questions as the young generation, as the future decision makers of this country, we shouldn't run away from. This is reality, not politics. This is our future, our life. There is one country that we always want to refer to when we want good things, but when it comes to the bad things, we don't want to. I mean, we run away from the truth. We always refer to USA in terms of technology, in terms of, you know, so many things. How many times have they changed their constitution? Is it not a living document there? How many times have they changed it? So these are realities that we must face. Truth is, we have so many constitutions. When a constitution is changed, it is not the same constitution. And I think the most important thing that we already taught, I believe everywhere you've gone in law school, at LDC, about laws, framing of laws, it is the intention. What is the intention of the framers? When someone mentions a law to do with homosexuals, anti-homosexuality, is it? I'm forgetting the full citation. They are trying to prevent people to practice homosexuality, right? So when you distance yourself from the intention, then you've lost the meaning of the law.
Douglas,
Yes.
the intention.
Yes.
Expedito speaks of the intention of the framers of the Constitution. Take us through the trends from 1995 up to today. Can we say the intention of the framers of the 1995 Constitution, which is making 30 years tomorrow, 8th, is it still intact?
Mr. President, let me first go back to what he was discussing in as regards amending the Constitution. I find that the Constitution is easily amended, and that is not okay.
Oh, may I give this information? I always want to be alive to the facts and reality. I don't think we should say that the 1995 Constitution, it is not enough. Personally, I have a belief that we've had 3 constitutions from 1995. Because when you say 1995, I think there are 2 or 3 documents. The 1995 had provisions which are not in the constitution that came up in the 2005. You get, and then 17. So there is something we are missing, and I think as the young generation, as you know, fresh brains, we should be alive to that fact. I don't know if it is okay for us to go in that direction.
Yeah, one would say since we revised our laws recently, and has not been amended since then, perhaps we don't need to say as amended. I hope that's what you intended us to add. As
not really. The acts were revised, not the Constitution. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. President, as I was saying, this Constitution is easily amended. Article 259 of that same Constitution allows us to amend the Constitution. That is Article 259. Now, Article 260 goes ahead to provide a list of some of the provisions that can be tampered with. These are entrenched provisions. By entrenched, I mean they cannot be amended without some sort of referendum. So, the issue is here. Among the provisions that are entrenched in the Constitution, one that deals with the age limit wasn't included. Do you remember that fiasco in 2017? Age limit debate and so on and so forth. Well, because age limit was not included among the provisions, it was easily tampered with. It's not entrenched, so Parliament found it very, very easy to amend this particular area of the law that deals with the age limit. So, moving forward, I would like to see, if a new constitution was to be put up, I would like to see certain areas entrenched, areas of term limits, age limits, and basic fundamental human rights, really. So these provisions should not be tampered with. In our case, any politician can wake up one morning and say, look, I am going to cook up something that is going to enable us to amend the Constitution so it suits our narrative. So that is how our politicians operate.
Currently, fundamental human rights are entrenched. Is it true?
It is true. It is true, but you see, there's certain things that, yes, they're entrenched, but would you really conclude that human rights are comprehensively respected in our jurisdiction? The answer is no. So entrenched or not entrenched, it is of no consequence, really.
Elvis, what should inform the framers in entrenching or not entrenching a provision? Because today, if we amended a constitution and removed, something that we may think is contentious, next time there might be calls for entrenching it. You considered that the Constitution provided for amendment of itself.
Yes.
So through the events from 1995 up to present, the amendments that have happened, which of those would you highlight that they have altered the promise?
Two amendments stand out for me, Mr. President. The 2005 amendment, which allowed for multiple political parties to exist in this nation. That was of great impact to this nation. Remember, we're coming from a situation where you do not freely participate in politics. You're dealing with a military man who is ruling a nation, and he is not allowing you any freedom. So, multi-party politics is introduced in 2005, and well, we see a lot of political parties coming up. Very good thing. It's an inclusive kind of way, to indulge citizens. The second amendment that stands out for me is the 2018 amendment, which allowed for the age limit to be done away with.
Thank you. I want to bring in Elvis on that, on these events.
The only difference is the one to do with the introduction of the multi-party system. There was a referendum. And then the one of term limit and age limit, there was no referendum. So that's the difference.
Yes, that is it.
Because the Constitution provided so. That this one you have to do a referendum. This one, there is no need for a referendum.
You see, that is where the issue now comes in. For me, I think it was an oversight on the side of the drafters of the Constitution, because they overlooked that particular area of age limits.
It has been said that the age limit was to lock away some political players, like Dr. Milton Obote. And Douglas has given us some events which he thinks altered the fundamentals of the Constitution. Do you agree to that extent?
Yeah, apparently I agree with them. I cannot disagree. We look at the fact that the age limit was the first thing that was implemented to do with the previous rulers, who are the likes of Obote, by first putting theirs to be 70. Then later increased to 75 years. And then now we don't know how many years.
Now it is infinity.
Now it is infinity. You get. So, looking at, and even the limits, there to be 2 terms. There was a term limit of someone being a president. They have to be 2 terms. Now it is indefinite as well. Now, coming to the aspect of amending the constitution here and there, that means, as my colleague was submitting earlier, that the drafters of the constitution missed in some areas that required a referendum in amending. Now look at the aspect of age limit. It is so essential that it required a referendum without just altering in that provision, without asking anyone and enforcing it, and then the limits are done away with. You get? So the drafters of the constitution had to put that into consideration, and those are the things that are affecting our politics and affecting us Ugandans. In other words, this takes us back to Article 3 in defending the constitution. So we are the people that are supposed to defend it in that way. In that the constitution shouldn't have loopholes in giving superiority to the executive or to the legislature or to the judiciary.
Elvis, are you submitting that we have not had positives from this constitution?
We have had positives. There are very many positives, but there are negatives too. And doing with the positives now, the constitution has been respected to an extent, though looking at the national objectives of the constitution and the preamble has actually, the objectives are around 28, 29 in there in the national objectives. We see that the people have gotten freedom. Freedom is there, but to an extent. We see that people have gotten free access to education as the national objective, but to also an extent. It's not absolute. Medical services, it's not absolute. You get? That's where we give credit to the government for trying to respect the national objectives of the what? Of the people, which is the positive side. But now looking at the aspect of governance of the whole state, and then and how the government is working with other bodies, the executive working with the legislature, the separation of powers. We look at the aspect that the executive is overpowering these other two bodies. You get? Through playing jargons with the constitution, where we need to come and the framers close those gaps. Yes, that's...
Okay, thank you. I want to come to you, Expedito, on the issue of the positives that we derive from the Constitution. What is it that you have seen as standout positives in this Constitution?
Standout positives. It's a hard question for me, in a sense that, you see, we're all leaders here. When you're hired to do something, if you do that you're supposed to do, yes, it is a positive, but to, should I say, shallow-minded person, that was the intention. And I think we shouldn't debate the positives. Of course, like any other law, it is made for purposes of regulating the society. Personally, I think it has worked. Actually, I still believe it is good, even as it is with there's so many amendments here and there. Who knows, even tomorrow we may have one. But I still believe the positives are not more than the negatives. The negative in a sense that the implementation of this constitution, it is supposed to be the supreme law of the land. And we are not seeing it reign as the supreme law. I mean, if on the bare minimum, like now, talk of the mandatory bail after the lapse of, is it 180 days? Is it happening? We are all lawyers here. Of recent, we've had Dr. Bestie being tried. Of course, the 180 days elapsed, and nothing is being done. So why should I go look for the far things when there are these very, very little things that we are not working on? You get? Talk of the police. What is its role? To keep law and order. We are having campaigns now going on around the country. Is it doing that? That's a question for us and the viewers to answer, each in their hearts. Now, there is something really important for us to talk about. One of the most recently enacted laws, is it the UPDF? No. UPDF Act. Yes, to do with the court martial. This, you know, when you talk of the Constitution, you're bringing the rule of law. When you bring rule of law, you bring a principle called separation of powers. And with separation of powers, it does not mean that these arms of government are acting independently. They coexist. But there is, there is precedence of each. The legislature that makes law for the country is not the one that interprets them. And the one that was mandated to interpret the laws is the judiciary. When it comes out and pronounces this law for a certain law, that this and this law is unconstitutional, is contrary to the Constitution, and that is one of the first provisions of our Constitution, that any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void to the extent of its what? Inconsistency. So the Supreme Court came out and pronounced itself on trying civilians in the military court, not trying civilians in the military courts with an act of parliament. It is just the act. And now the parliament, or executive, I don't know, came up with another law. You know, law is not just a paper. It is a spirit, a living spirit, just like we talked about it. So, personally, I believe there is need, actually urgent need, for us to discuss about the way our country is moving. There is an urgent need for all lawyers, all legal brains in this country to speak about these things, you know, because if we don't, then where are we going? Of recent, you know, one of our teachers, the PAs, told us that a lawyer is the only person allowed to meet anyone in this world. You can meet a terrorist, you can meet the president, you can meet the leader of opposition or whoever, because our role is to advocate for others. So even terrorists need lawyers. When you go and advocate for a terrorist, you yourself, you're not a terrorist. You're enforcing their rights, which are entrenched in the Constitution, that everyone is entitled to legal representation. But of recent, I think it was still in the quest of Kizza Besigye, Uganda versus Kizza Besigye in the military court, when one Aaron Chiza was arrested. Actually, he was arrested in court on work, on duty, without prosecution, clear prosecution, sentenced. You get. So where is the constitutionalism? It being the supreme law, did it reign then? The answer is no. So, personally, I want to believe that, yes, the Constitution is there, it has done what it has done, but it is not enough. It is not what it is supposed to do.
Thank you. You want to come in there?
Yes, I want to.
Just to conclude, it shouldn't be a question of the positives of the Constitution. It should be a question of the positives of the implementers. And the implementers means all you Ugandans, because Article 1 gives us the power.
We are streaming live on YouTube, and we are going to be receiving your feedback shortly. So you could just go on YouTube and then search U24 television and then send in your comment. We shall be reading it very soon. We're also live on other social media handles, on Twitter, on Facebook, and many others. Just search for U24 television and follow the conversation. Send in your comments. We shall be reading it. The same in the show. Douglas, you want to come in?
Yes, I wanted to highlight something really powerful from the preamble of the Constitution. You see, the makers of this Constitution committed themselves to creating a better future by establishing socio-economic and some kind of order, some kind of political order in the nation. So the whole point was for the country to never go back to that state where all these extrajudicial killings were happening, governments were being ousted without any kind of justifiable reason. So, in looking at the positives, the makers of the Constitution ensured that this very Constitution that they made is heavily protected. It makes it unconstitutional for someone to take power illegally. That same Constitution also protects someone who chooses to resist unconstitutional takeover of power. So if someone is trying to illegally take over the government, me, Douglas Omara, if I choose to resist that takeover, the law is not going to reprimand me. And that is a protection that has been guaranteed by the Constitution. I look at it as a positive, really.
And that depends on who interprets that law. Otherwise, you shouldn't stand proud. It protects you.
It is true, yes. It does protect. It protects people, but to a lesser extent.
I don't know why personally I have a view that really the Constitution, as it is, I came with it.
Yes.
As it is just a mere paper and ink. So it is us, people who read it, who interpret it, to give it,
to breathe life.
You to bring life to it. So what he's trying to say, you see all these things we're talking about, the goods and the bads that are happening, they're happening just because of our judicial officers, they're happening just because of our leaders, they're happening just because of our parliament, which keeps on day and day changing it. And you know, passing whatever they feel pleases them.
Let's look at the road ahead. It seems there is a consensus among the panelists that the Constitution is easy to amend and therefore to abuse. But the Constitution provides for avenues. For example, the 2017 age limit amendment was challenged in the courts of laws. And the courts were of the view, both the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court, that the amendment had no problem. The road ahead, if you look at the events that have led to the present-day Constitution as we have it, what do you see in regard to the future? Elvis.
Now, taking us a little bit back, we see the case of Malema Brizi, where he failed trying to challenge that the 2017 amendment of the age limit. The courts, of course, they treated it as it had no problem because of the retrenchment, as he was talking about. It didn't require any referendum, and which is legally right. You get? But when we look at the future aspect of it, in that...
And remember, the same courts have previously struck down the amendments, like in 2001, Paul Kawanga Semugerere goes in and challenges the referendum amendment. So, in the future?
Now looking at the future, what is this likely to cause, or what is this likely to bring about, such in that the Constitution can easily be changed, the term limits can be altered. So when you look at Article 260 which provides for the articles of the Constitution that cannot be easily changed, we look at the drafters of the Constitution adding in more provisions to that effect that they cannot be changed. Why? Because look, right now we are here, but presidents are going to keep on changing. You get? This isn't the end of everything. We are going to see other presidents of Uganda coming. The current one is not going to be the final president. But such a provision of the time limit and the presidential age limit being indefinite will be a problem in the future. Why? You see someone who will become a president and he will want to be the same as the current president of Uganda, which will not be good. So we try to bring in the aspect that once they are going to once maybe the president of Uganda changes, we can see new changes of the Constitution. We shall see the drafters or the parliamentarians seconding motions of bringing back the term limit or age limit. For purposes of the future, having at least a great future, at least let's have a term limit, whereby the current president or in the future can be like now a presidential advisor. Of course, you work hand in hand. Now you look at the likes of Obama, Trump. They were presidents before, and they are still there, and they are still helping in the running of their what? Of their nation.
Douglas.
Yes, please.
If we removed the issues of term limit and age limit from the picture, do you credit the Constitution to be as it is now, having those put aside, a perfect document?
You're making it sound like those are the only issues. If you put them aside,
those are the only issues. That's what I
yes.
But they are not the general. They are not the only issues.
And those were just examples.
Yeah, there are examples that we pick, but there are other issues.
Mr. President, I'll speak hypothetically. There is so many things I would want to see if we were to come up with a new constitution. Some of the injustices that we have realized in this country have happened because the head of state has extensive powers. Even with approval of parliament, when it comes to certain things, the president still has extensive powers. The president is going to appoint judges. He is going to appoint heads of commissions. He is going to command the military, and so on and so forth.
Someone jokingly said that he also commands who becomes an MP and speaker.
Exactly.
But that was a joke.
Even taking it down to the local level, an RDC is appointed by the president. I feel like, again, moving forward, an independent commission should be put in place for situations like this. I'll give an example. If a judge is appointed by the president, vetted by the parliament and approved, there should be another independent commission or committee that is going to vet these appointed judges. The whole point is to dilute how much say the appointers have. We do not have this in our constitution. So I would want to see that included in the amendments.
So the question would be, then who appoints that committee?
Well, we have jurisdictions where, again, the clergy, retired judges, traditional leaders are entrusted with this whole, process. So there is an established committee, yes, but for it to be properly effective, come up with something that is independent, something that has no affiliation to what is already in place.
Mr. Expedito Mutesasera, you are the guild president at LDC Mbarara campus. Would you agree with Omara that you be a president of the nation without powers of a president? Because what makes a president is the powers that he has to appoint, to disappoint, to approve, and all that. So what would be the purpose of having a president if we take away the powers that the president should have, such as appointing?
You see, personally, I haven't taken time to know the powers of the president, as you said it. But I've taken time to know the powers of the president in our constitution. And I think I'll only concur with my brother that they're excessive, and that is actually the root of all our problems. In a sense that, you see, when we talk of the judiciary, it is an arm that is meant to interpret laws for us, actually implement. When the law says this, it is a judicial officer who will actually say that, no, it means this. But what do you really think the judicial officer will do when there is a matter to do with the appointing authority and you, a citizen? Do you expect them to take your side? Much as the Constitution still provides that they are protected, you know, there is reality, there is form and substance. The form is the paper, and the substance is the implementation, the day-to-day, you see, day-to-day activities that are done in accordance with the Constitution. I personally believe that the President has excessive powers, and I also believe that some of the provisions that we have in the Constitution are not actually being implemented, and those that try to implement them, sometimes when they find themselves on the wrong side of those in power, are they actually treated as criminals. For example, we have the freedom of expression. That means I have the freedom to look at you
like what we are doing now,
and
expressing ourselves.
Yes, and say you're this or that. But when you say it, depending on who you say it about, do you think you're safe? Depending on who you say it about. And now, for example, the president or a police officer holding a gun, are you safe? No. So personally, I believe the Constitution, even as it is still a good document. It is still a good Constitution, one of a kind, even as it is. If only those little provisions that we have that are to do with, you know, the rule of law and the separation of power, the strictness in them, if we applied them, we could still be good to go. But I have a belief that they are not really applied as they are written in the Constitution. And whether we like it or not, in the near future, I don't know if I'll be alive, but in the near future, we shall need a commission of inquiry to do with all these things that have come up. I mean, that have come up to do with the Constitution and people doing contrary or doing, you know, in line with it. We shall need a new commission, I don't know, a constitutional commission to come up with a new constitution, because, you know, constitutions or leadership, you must have the people in support of that. So I don't know if really this that we have now, people are in support of it. Of course they are, because it is what is reigning. But I believe the will of the leaders to implement it as it is. I don't know if this is okay with all of you, but do you think the elections we normally have are in accordance with the Constitution?
I wanted to go direct to Elvis and put that question to him. You started by saying power belongs to the people, Article 1, and you're in the period of the election. And the question is whether the people are in support of the Constitution. Absolutely. By the fact that they go to the votes and they vote, their leaders, they send them to power, and the incumbents, some of them will return. Is that a vote of confidence? That their leaders have upheld the Constitution?
On the honest bit of it, coming back to how people exercise their right to vote, it's of course a constitutional right that everyone has a right to vote in the Constitution, since power belongs to the people of Uganda. So in the exercise of people's right to vote, we see the aspect that it's not in the sense that it's absolute. Though people exercise their right, go and vote, and then what we don't know is, fine, the right has been exercised. What we're not sure about is if during the counting or the calculating of those votes, the votes are valid. So there is a loophole, but people, they give them the right, they exercise it, but is it honest? Is it the exact vote as you exercised your vote? So are the results exactly the same as what you exercised? No, we are not sure about that, right?
Electoral Commission publishes results on the website. Even when you go there now, you find results uploaded from all polling stations in the country.
Yes.
I'm sure if you checked and what you got on your polling station, what you counted, is what you will find on the website uploaded.
You even have
Mr.
means-
Mr. President,
you even have
if-
means to check.
Because it uploads the results in a transparent manner, it says. Well uploaded.
It says.
What you counted on your polling station should be what you see on that tally sheet. Have you
but-
noted any changes?
No, but we're in a current regime of technology. You get. So it broadcasting live results does not mean that those are the exact results. So there is still always a loophole. We are highly advanced in technology. So basically, it's like that. It's like they're saying that since you have your national ID, you're a registered what? Voter. So why is it that the number of votes don't tally with the number of registered voters according to their ID numbers as registered? You get?
Yeah, true.
So there are lots of loopholes in that instance.
Mr. President, if I may,
Just in 1 minute, yeah.
or if I may chime in on what he was saying about implementation. His argument is, do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. The constitution is good. It just the issue is implementation. Well,
Okay.
my argument is the issue is not with implementation. It is a design flaw. You see, if the constitution says you have a right to express yourself, you have a right to assemble without any kind of consequences, as long as the assembly is legal. And it goes ahead and, stops you from exercising these rights. This is a design flaw, really. And speaking of what you are saying about the people of Uganda ratifying the Constitution of Uganda and accepting it and uploading it and all
Where the
that.
constitution does it, bar you from doing something that it allows you to do?
The Constitution says you can assemble at any point in time
Yes.
freely. You can do campaigns. And-
Where does it now bar you from doing the same?
Let me take you back to the current events that are happening right now.
Those are events, constitution. There is something we are missing here.
I want to relate to the current events.
Yes.
The Constitution tells you have a right to assemble. We are doing campaigns right now for next year's elections.
Yes.
That very Constitution tells you, as perhaps a potential candidate for presidency, that you can assemble, you can gather people, talk to them, advance your campaign and all that, right? What we are witnessing right now is instances where the opposition plans to hold an assembly somewhere, but security forces are telling them, no, you are not going to be there. Instead, take the other route.
For example, if you want to put
and
it,
I think that is
There is-
implementation. It is not the constitution
for example, if you want to put it in a
barring
market,
this person. No. There is a point we're missing. My question was, he said the constitution allows, and I believe that point, you're right
Yeah.
at that. But you see, it is not the constitution that bars these things, these actually constitutional, rights and
I am not saying the
events.
Constitution
but it
bars.
is the people that are supposed to implement. For example, now the police, Uganda police under our constitution, is supposed to maintain law and order. And what it does is not maintenance of law and order. But the constitution does not prevent, it does not prevent you to assemble. It cannot give you a right and then takes away.
Have you addressed yourself to the fact that the 2018 amendment gave mandate to security operatives to storm parliament?
gentlemen,
It is
I
still
think
people.
the
It is
debate,
still people.
the debate is whether
Non-constitution.
you can enjoy your rights in an unlimited manner. And I guess your rights may be limited, depending on which rights we are speaking about.
Rights always
Mr.
have to be
President, I
limited.
Some
I
may be
still-
absolute, others may not be absolute. So if you want to have
In
a
accordance
campaign,
with the law.
you cannot have it in a market.
True.
Because there are businesses going on.
True.
If you have a procession,
Mr.
you have to
President.
be aware that there are other vehicles. I think that has been the point of police.
Yes, but my point.
But
my
if
point
I
is
if I
still-
have
still,
if I have an established campaign trail, a formal trail that shows my movements and where I am going to converge with my people, and I've submitted it to you, I do not intend to do anything wrong. My plan is to just gather. I'm not going to gather in a school or a place that is not gazetted.
This debate is becoming hot.
May-
Unfortunately,
may-
is not our friend.
may I
I
say
have
this?
just a
Just something
I have
small.
a few seconds.
Just something small.
As you give your last remarks in 30 seconds, say
Last
that's something
remarks.
small
Wow.
and also your last remarks.
My point was, you see, when you talked of enjoying the rights in a limited manner, it should be in accordance with the Constitution still. Actually, the Constitutional Article 2 is not that any law. It is any law and custom. There is an act and the law.
Thank you very much.
You get that?
Yes.
So my point is,
The final remarks.
the final remarks. My point is, the Constitution is so good, even as it is now. But the people that are supposed to implement it, that is the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. Plus us, the Ugandans, the nationals. We are not doing what we are supposed to do under the Constitution. We are letting some of the leaders misuse it and
Misuse it,
abuse
true.
it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Sasra. Over to you, Douglas.
Yes, Mr. President, the Constitution was formulated in 1995. Close to 75% of Ugandans were not in existence in 1995. So basically, it's the youth that are dominant.
Including you?
I was around.
You are around.
I am saying 75%. So I am not part of those people.
I
So
wasn't around.
when this constitution was made, some of these young people were not around. They do not understand why it was made. You see, that very constitution is a social contract that is binding.
Okay.
How can you be bound by something you didn't participate in?
Thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
that is something I would pose to you.
Thank you very much to us. Over to you, Elvis.
My final remarks are that this constitution, it's very good, it is very okay. It's just the enforceability of the constitution that has tried to fail us, because we see that in how power is divided, we have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. How when you look at the provisions of the constitution, first, the constitution has provisions laid down that support the people, but the enforcers do the contrary against the people of Uganda. Right? So you look at the aspect that the departments that have to enforce this constitution, at least let them adjust on how they enforce this constitution to be beneficial to Ugandans as a whole.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us from 9 p.m. up to 10 p.m. This is the Checkpoint, which comes to you every Tuesday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. This evening, we are discussing the 30 years of the 1995 Ugandan Constitution. Has it delivered on its promises? I had with me His Excellency Mutesasira Expedito Mpologoma. He's the guild president.
Who
of the
says
Law
let's find
Development-
comfort in discussing these matters?
He's the guild president of the Law Development Center, Mbarara campus. I had Douglas Omara. He's a legal assistant at Omara Atubo and Company Advocates. I had Elvis Basajabaka.
Basajabaka, Elvis
Basajabaka.
Waiswa.
Absolutely. He's a lawyer. And with me, I was John Vianney Ayobare, the host for today. See you next week on Tuesday at the same time. Coming up is U24 Cinema. Stay tuned and good night. Hey.